Hi everyone, I'm Kayleigh Paxman. I am a field service trainee for the north of England. So our area covers pretty much anywhere from Nottingham up to the border of Scotland and sometimes into the border of Scotland, and then across to the north of Wales. So quite a big area that we cover, probably one of the biggest scenes in the UK. Yeah, and yeah, I'll start talking a little bit about myself, if that's okay. So a little bit of an introduction. I've kind of covered my role and who I work for. We've got here my dog and cat, Vera and Susan, much loved and really naughty sometimes. I just like going to concerts, which you can see there with my partner, Tim, and that's one of the musicians that we've been to see. I like traveling, I like China, and that panda there that you see is a giant panda on the side of a skyscraper in Chengdu, which is where I lived for a year. Love going on walks because I am from Yorkshire, and my accent. So yeah, we have a lot of lovely scenery. Love cooking, and I love. I think it was touched on just as I joined the meeting. Continuing to learn. So what you see in the bottom corner there is a group of our colleagues from GE Healthcare who all came together last October to improve processes across the company, and that was a really fun week. Yeah, where we just got to give our input and actually do something that would bring about a bit of change. So that was quite exciting as well from a professional standpoint. Tell you a little bit about my career journey. It was straight from school into engineering. I am 28 years old, so it's taken me a short while to get here. But I did love science, maths, languages and art at school. It made it quite hard to choose what I wanted to go on and do at college because kind of like them all equally. I didn't really have a favourite. I did go on to do sciences, German and art at college as well. And again, I had the same difficult decision when it came to choosing something for university. I'm university with a full intention of, and then I realised I probably didn't have the skills to be a teacher because I spent some time with my younger cousins and I found it really stressful. So I thought maybe not. And then I went into marketing and organisational development, which is writing systems, processes, yeah, doing training and stuff like that for a small startup company. After that, I moved into quality assurance. That's for City and Guild. You might yourselves be doing some exams from them. And I worked there. I started the week before COVID. Lockdown started, and I was really excited to get back into the office because I'd been, yeah, trying to find work, and then everything shut down, and we got kicked out. And yeah, it was all from home, very self-led, a lot of problem solving, and quickly kind of move through the teams there. Obviously, we covered a lot of change and stuff like that. So yeah, it was quite a challenging role, but I knew that it wasn't really something that I wanted to do long term. And then I heard about the traineeship for GE Healthcare. I said, "Do you need any engineering experience?" And the person who told me about it said, "It would be good if you had engineering experience, but it's about showing, your other skills and, I don't know if we still use this term, but soft skills and things like that." So amongst my quality assurance role, I had a lot of customer facing experience, a lot of customer service experience and stuff with problem solving, obviously working under pressure with stuff from COVID, and all of those skills were adapted into my interview day, basically, which was a day-long interview to with all the other applicants there to see how you would get on. And there was a little practical just to make sure you could, deal with the tools and stuff like that. And here I am 1.5 years later. I've got about 6 months-ish left of my traineeship. And yeah, I really, really love it. So an unusual journey. But I wish I would have had someone to tell me that this was an option when I was at school. So yeah, when I heard about this talk, I thought it was a really good thing that's happening, because even though I'm not that old, it wasn't a thing when I was at school as much to talk about this kind of stuff. And yeah, other options that are out there for careers. So yeah, it's quite exciting to be here eventually now at 28 and retraining and loving it. So yeah, typical day in the life of a field engineer. I don't know if you can see my camera right now, but this is my room. I've got machines everywhere, so we're on site at the minute servicing in the Isle of Man. That does happen. We do have to travel quite a lot. There's a lot of driving. Obviously, our area is quite big, so a lot of driving, but you've got to concentrate, obviously. But it is quite nice to decompress. You get a little bit of time to yourself. You've got to manage your own time in our area. You've got to be quite resilient. Sometimes you're servicing, you can see those little blue monitors, hopefully the picture's just about big enough. Sometimes you can do a large number of those in a day, and different stuff, it might be broken when you come to it. You were expecting it to be broken, and you've got to kind of think on your feet and just keep going, power through, get stuff done, and then yeah, make sure that it's all up to scratch. But it's definitely been a learning curve for me coming into this as without prior experience, just about yeah, making sure that everything's done in following all the processes. The installations, they're the ones at the bottom, so it was basically moving everything off that roll stand onto a hanging pendant from the ceiling, and some of the stuff, it doesn't always go smoothly, but you've got to be resilient and come up with these ways to solve these problems. And I think one of the things I worried about as a girl going into engineering was, am I too short? Am I too not strong enough? And these are questions that, I did have to ask and worry about. And the answer is no. In this role, you can do anything to overcome stuff. There's different methods of being able to, untie something, for example, if it's tied on too tightly, or we can also get steps and stuff like that. So it's really not too bad. I worried far too much about that, and it's actually been really easy to overcome. So that's quite nice. Problem solving that you can see there has been the majority of my past 6 months. Things in a fleet, they were all bought at the same time, they're the same age, and all the same problem keeps happening with them all. And so it's fault finding, understanding the systems, and we got all the training and mentoring for that here as a trainee. And I've liked the mental challenge that has come with that, and also managing the customer and the customer's expectations. That's been probably one of the most difficult parts of it, but it definitely was good that I had some customer service experience from before.
My name is Dimos. I'm a medical physicist. I work for GE Healthcare at the R&D Research and Development Department of the Pharmaceutical Diagnostics section. Here, these are the simulations of a brain. This is an MRI image. This is a tractograph image, and this is the input functions of cardiac perfusion. So essentially, can we go on the next slide, because I don't remember exactly what how to. Oh, okay, career journey, and then the next one is the day in the life of. Okay, cool, perfect. So yeah, I'm a medical physicist. So essentially, my career journey after school was, if I wanted to do either a bachelor's degree in either physics, mathematics, or computer science, and then I opted for physics. I actually studied in Scotland in the University of Aberdeen. I finished in 2013, and now I realize that it's been 10 years ago, so I'm very old. I did not know that. I hadn't realized, actually. And then after my bachelor's, I wanted to do a master's degree, and I had to choose between medical physics, nanomaterials physics, or theoretical physics. And mainly due to the timelines of the applications, I applied for the medical physics one. Then this was for a couple of years. 1.5 year actually, 1 year courses, half a year, 1 semester the dissertation. Then I had to undergo, I had to choose essentially a portion of medical physics, because it's either nuclear medicine, radiotherapy, or diagnostic radiology, and I opted for diagnostic radiology. Although I did a year in across all departments in some public hospital, in 2 public hospitals in Greece, to obtain the license of a clinically qualified medical physicist. Then within the section of diagnostic radiology, I had to choose either ionizing radiation versus non-ionizing radiation, and I opted for ionizing radiation mostly. And ionizing radiation is essentially it can damage cells of the body, whereas non-ionizing cannot damage cells. And I opted for working in non-ionizing radiation, and essentially ultrasounds, lasers, and MRI, with the specialization in MRI. Then I had to I was thinking of if I wanted to do a clinical career or if I wanted to go into the academia. So I sort of did both. I started the PhD in 2016, and then I finished in like 2021. And then I worked at a clinic, at a diagnostic center. I was the lead MRI physicist. And then I joined the GE, and that's pretty much it. And now I'm involved in various clinical trials about MRI related pharmaceutical products. And could move essentially a day in the life of me. So I can see here science, music, puzzles, chess, and studying, and physics as well. So pretty much, with the exception of sleeping like 7 to 8 hours a day, all the rest of the hours, it's about this stuff here. Essentially, pretty boring stuff, but yeah, that's it.
I think this is really interesting. You see, Dimos, that you've had lots of times where you've had to do an either or decision as you've gone along your journey, which I think is really interesting. Do you ever think, oh, I wish I'd made a different decision, or are you really, was it very clear cut actually for you at those decision points?
Essentially, the most important one would be if I wanted to choose between therapy or diagnostics. But after doing 4 months in the radiotherapy department of a hospital, it was so much of an emotional burden to have to see essentially most of your patients die, pretty much, because the worst cases in the Greek public health system, it was pretty hard. So it was easy for me to decide against that. And after that, I don't know, I was sort of winging it wherever it was, wherever I had a better feeling for.
That's great. Please do ask any questions for Kayleigh and Dimos. Kayleigh, do you play a musical instrument? This goes back to the chat we were having earlier, just as you were joining, about the benefits for the brain of playing a musical instrument.
Having caught the back end of that conversation, I feel a bit nervous to give my answer actually, but no, I don't, and I wish I could. I tried a couple of times I tried piano and I tried electric guitar as well. I kind of got it, but I don't have whatever that thing is that makes people musical. I'm also tone deaf, so yeah, I'm not a good singer or anything like that, so it doesn't make for a good musician. So yeah, unfortunately no, I don't. I've seen one there. It asked, what did I do for my GCSEs? I did maths, I did triple science, so separate chemistry, biology, and physics. I then chose German, resistant materials, art, and there's one more that's clearly Oh, French, that was it, yeah. So yeah, and then we had a couple of other mandatory ones that we had to do, like statistics and things like that. So yeah, it was, I think there was 12 in total. What would I tell my 13 to 14-year-old self looking back? Be a bit more determined. It's really hard as a 13/14-year-olds because you do rely on what people tell you around you, and you do trust, you know, what people have to say. When I was about 12, 13, we made our choices at school for what we were going to do for our GCSEs. I originally picked electronics. I was only one of 2 that picked it, and unfortunately that wasn't enough to run the electronics class, so they cancelled it, and I ended up having to do resistant materials instead, which is like woodworking stuff. And I was kind of like, oh, maybe it wasn't meant to be. And then I wanted to maybe look at going to do like an electrician apprenticeship, because that was the only other thing that I knew, with my dad being an electrician. And my dad was kind of like, I don't really want you working with me. So I was like, okay, all right. He's very supportive, but I don't think he realised like how impressionable I probably was at that point. And I was like, okay, maybe not. So then I completely changed the path that I was looking at. And I think maybe if I was 13, 14, having heard the other options that could happen, I don't have to go onto a building site and work in certain conditions. There's other options out there if you are interested in the more engineering side of stuff. Definitely just persevere a little bit, and definitely look more what's out there as options. That answers the question.
How many years did it take you to get where you are now, education wise?
So I did finish school / college at 19, and I then did 4 years at university. So I graduated in 2018, and then I went from there into my various other random jobs that I had. So yeah, it took doing that, and I don't regret my degree. I had a lovely time. It's a really cool skill to have, and I still do learn languages in my spare time. It's not something that I've just dropped and forgotten about. I don't regret what I chose for my GCSEs now. I'm really happy with what I chose. I was never really kind of very good at history and geography and things like that. So I think the choices that I made were pretty good. So it's, sorry, I was just answering a question, then I realised I kind of veered off the comment. Apologies. No, it was quite a number of years in education. I think it's good to know the other things that are out there, like this traineeship. You don't have to have done a university degree. You can do. And if you do a university degree, you could maybe bypass the traineeship and go straight into an engineering role here at GE. So it's that kind of thing. It depends which way works for you. If you want to look at either route, it both works. So it's definitely what your personal preference is. Hopefully that helps.
Thank you very much. We've got a question for Dimos about how many different languages do you speak?
I speak 3 languages. Greek is my mother tongue, English, and a little bit of French.
I guess going back to the brain, learning languages is another thing that's very good for our brains, I'm thinking.
Yep, it is indeed.